Barry Peltz, Ira Joe Fisher, and John Frankel. This is News 4 New York at 6.
And good evening. Tonight, the doctors speak out on that NBC exclusive report of AIDS transmission child to child.
As we first told you exclusively last night, doctors in New Jersey have documented a case of AIDS being transmitted from one child to another. One child between the ages of 2 and 5 years old infected another child of about the same age in a foster care home, possibly through the external contact with blood. And today, doctors had more. We're going to go now to Kevin Rosen, who's live with that story. Kevin?
Hi, Perry. Well, the doctors just wound up a news conference here at the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, which is part of the University of Medicine and Dentistry at New Jersey. This may be the first case of HIV being transmitted from one child to another. It was a case here at UMDNJ. And of course, usually the HIV virus is spread sexually or through a contaminated needle. But in this case, a preschool-aged child with dermatitis, which breaks up the skin, somehow got the HIV virus from another child he was living with in the same household who was prone to nosebleeds and who had the HIV virus. Now, the doctors here do not know exactly how the HIV virus spread between the two children.
It is crucial to stress that this is very unusual. We think this is a 1 in a million or 1 in 500,000 phenomenon. We do not think that the documentation of this phenomenon, using very sophisticated and elegant molecular biology, proving that the two viruses are the same and different than the mother's virus of the recipient, we do not think that this documentation should change public policy at this time for most situations in the United States.
Now, of course, this does raise the questions of whether HIV-infected children can interact normally with other children. The doctors here say that our policies on that should not change, that even in this particular case with a child prone to nosebleeds and a child with dermatitis, if they were in a school situation, could have been prevented by isolating the child who had the nosebleed from all the other children in this case. Now, the two apparently did not sleep together in the same bed, but doctors here say that it is a possibility that they could have fallen asleep together. But again, they have not been able to pin down exactly how the virus spread from one child to the other. Perry and Ralph?
Okay, Kevin, thank you very much. Let us also add that health officials tell NBC News they fear this latest case may lead to more discrimination against AIDS patients. And since this appears to be a rare instance, there are no plans to change their recommendations if the care of children with the AIDS virus. Ralph?
Obviously, we'll stay on top of that story very closely. Well, it's happened again. Christmas trees going up in flames, more fires set by thugs after money, and we'll have that story for you very shortly. Health officials also tell, let's see here, let me just help you out here.
Suicide.
Yes, I want to tell you about a story you may have some information on already or have heard about, and that is that story of those two teenagers who killed themselves on Long Island. We understand they were the best of friends, one just 15 years old, the other 16. They were the kind of high school kids who seemingly had it all together. They both had good grades, lots of friends, and no visible problems. They just didn't fit the profile of typical teenage suicides. Well, today in the village of Setauket, the long, dark line of a funeral cortege gave eloquent voice to a community in grief. Friends and families mourned for Millie Sabutu and Ellen Liu. On Thursday, the two teenagers sat down on Long Island Railroad tracks and waited for that oncoming train. Friends say they had planned to die together. At this point, nobody really knows why. Barry?
And Ralph, it was a busy morning in Midtown when suddenly a gunman started shooting. When it was over, 3 men were injured and 1 was critical. It happened on 49th Street and 9th Avenue. Police are questioning all those witnesses, trying to piece together what triggered a hail of bullets that hit the 3 men. 1 was hit in the chest, another in the finger and legs, the third in the forearm. So far, there are no suspects and there are no arrests. Ralph?
An unusual robbery on Long Island, a store in a posh Long Island neighborhood hit by some very slick thieves. It happened at the Manhasset branch of Feline's basement. The crooks apparently broke in overnight and got away with close to $300,000 in furs, leathers, and other clothes. The police tell us no suspects yet.
And you may remember the story of the Williamsburg housing development that was taken over by some Latino squatters back in October. Well, now a federal court judge has officially made a ruling on who can apply for that housing. News 4's Tiwa Chang has that story.
People are not. I don't think it's really fair. I don't really think they're doing anything to make it equal.
Latinos in Brooklyn reacted angrily today to a federal ruling that will give more of the new Berry Street housing project in Williamsburg to Hasidim residents already in public housing than to Black and Latinos in slums for years while on citywide waiting lists. Some Latinos were so adamant about being treated unfairly that 2 months ago they occupied the Berry Street housing project, demanding a greater share of the apartments.
She feels she deserves a right to live here because she's a working woman.
The city promised more of the housing to the Blacks and Latinos, but that promise will not be kept. With gates and locks now protecting the Berry Street project, U.S. District Court Judge Robert Sweet ruled yesterday that tenants in existing public housing in Williamsburg can transfer into the Berry Street development. The end result of the judge's ruling will allow more Hasidim to move into this new public housing in Williamsburg. The reason is right now there are more Hasidim living in public housing already in Williamsburg, while 90% of those on the waiting list are Black and Hispanic. If the majority goes to the Hasidim?
I don't feel that's right, and I don't know what the ruling was with the court, but I hope that doesn't happen.
Why would the federal judge do that?
I guess the Hasidic community is so much more together.
Politically?
Politically, they have a lot more force, power.
But Hasidics in Williamsburg, unable to appear on camera because it's a religious day, the Sabbath, said this is their neighborhood and they must live nearby since they must walk to the synagogue on the Sabbath. They also say they've been in Williamsburg longer and deserve to stay in their own neighborhood. In Williamsburg, Tiwa Chang, News 4, New York.
To other developments now, NASA has high praise tonight for the crew on board the shuttle Endeavour. Today, they managed to capture the Hubble Space Telescope. The shuttle's robot arm grabbed the telescope early today, and next will come the even more difficult task of repairing the instrument's broken parts. The shuttle astronauts will attempt to correct the Hubble's blurry vision in a series of spacewalks beginning tonight and around midnight. Well, we're already getting hit with that wet weather, and it's going to get worse. Ira Joe's tracking it very closely, and he's got a report. Ira?
First thing we should do, Ralph, is look at our exclusive live Doppler weather radar, and we see at the moment what's characterized as light rain scattered over our area, but it's pretty widespread, reaching now as far to the east as Connecticut. And of course, coming from the west, let's look at the area that is anticipated to be most heavily affected. That area highlighted by red in northern New Jersey, where there is a flood watch for later tonight. Across the area, there's a chance of from 1 to 2 inches. The reason that area is particularly in peril tonight is because of last week's heavy rain, then tonight's anticipated heavy rain, poor drainage areas, and of course leaves clogging the sewer grates could create a problem, some localized flooding. Be careful, stay tuned. We'll have more on the forecast coming up in moments. Perry.
Ira, thanks very much. The holiday season should be a happy one for children, but for those who have lost parents, it can be anything but that. The United Firefighters Association held their annual Christmas party for widows and children of firefighters who have died in the line of duty. Santa Claus took some time off from his very busy schedule to spread some holiday cheer, as well as a few presents. The annual event was held at Harry's Restaurant in the Woolworth Building. Looks like you're having fun.
Yes, it is. We've got more for you still ahead tonight. When do women need mammograms? Tonight, the National Cancer Institute is changing its advice, and a controversy is raging.
Also, Princess Di's dropping out, but wait till you hear what the tabloids are going to do about it. And then she dropped out, and she's back. We'll talk to pretty woman Julia Roberts coming up.
See the complete line of Toro Power Curve snow throwers at these Toro dealers.
It's happened again. Christmas trees going up in flames. More fires set by thugs going after money. A Bronx tree salesman, Glenn Walker, is the latest victim of extortion. A group of bandits torched his Christmas trees because he refused to pay up. Last week, 3 men approached him and demanded $3,000. He refused. And in early hours of the last 2 nights, someone torched several hundred of his trees.
They came up and told me that if I wanted to sell trees here, I had to pay $3,000.
And your reaction to that was?
I couldn't afford to pay it, don't want to pay it.
Now, when was the first one?
Police have no suspects.
And for women concerned about breast cancer, there is confusion tonight. Who do you believe when your life is possibly at stake? The National Cancer Institute now says women in their 40s do not need the routine mammograms that have been so heavily promoted for years. The Institute insists that new studies show the breast checks do not help in breast cancer prevention for women between 40 and 49. Now, that's drawn a lot of objections from the American Cancer Society and the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. They urge women in their 40s to continue getting routine mammograms. And the search for the missing 12-year-old Polly class continues in our hometown of Petaluma, California tonight. Police and FBI agents are using dogs and 250 people to hunt for the girl who disappeared from her bedroom in October. They won't say if any progress is being made in locating Polly, but they are taking a major piece of evidence against the man under arrest, 39-year-old Richard Davis.
A palm print that was found inside of Polly's bedroom that does indicate the presence of our prime suspect in that bedroom on the night of the kidnapping.
Davis, who has been convicted of 2 previous kidnappings, has not been charged in the Polly class case. Davis is now in jail on an unrelated charge. Ralph.
So, supporters of Dr. Jack Kevorkian are rallying in behalf of what he says is his right to help others commit suicide. Kevorkian has assisted at least 20 people with fatal illnesses to take their own lives. He's currently charged with assisting in the death of a woman with Lou Gehrig's disease. Kevorkian's lawyer is asking for a speedy court ruling on the Michigan law that prohibits assisted suicides.
Demonstrations in the West Bank and Gaza are adding new tensions tonight to an area that's supposed to be on the threshold of peace. In the West Bank city of Ramallah, Palestinians burned tires and blocked traffic, and Israeli troops fired back. 1 Palestinian was killed. Another Palestinian was critically wounded in a taxi cab in a village on the West Bank. Witnesses say the cab was fired on by an Israeli settler. The violence comes as Secretary of State Warren Christopher was off and running on a round of shuttle diplomacy in the Mideast. He arrived in Jerusalem today and went jogging at a local stadium before getting down to business. He's scheduled to make diplomatic visits scheduled to Syria, Jordan, Egypt, and Tunisia. And still ahead tonight, Ira Joe with a wet forecast.
Also tonight, one of Hollywood's beautiful leading ladies talks about the love-it of her life. First, here's John.
So often we tell you about things or war on the sports field. Today it truly was. Army and Navy go at it for the 94th time. In basketball, Patrick Ewing leads the Knicks. They try to rebound from Thursday night's embarrassment to Houston. And Bobby Bonilla of the Mets and some friends. They do a little bowling for charity. Well, that and the rest of sports coming up.
Leave me alone. That's what Princess Diana says she wants. And tonight, Britain's 2 biggest tabloids say that's what she'll get. Yesterday, near tears, Princess Diana announced she was scaling back her public duties because of unbearable harassment by the press. And Britain's tabloids have gone a bit over the top, publishing transcripts of her private phone calls and lately displaying photographs of the princess as she exercised at a private health club. Now they say they'll ease up on those gossip stories.
Should we leave Ira alone for change?
No.
Never.
I had a feeling you wouldn't.
Pictures of you exercising.
Yeah, well, those will be rare, let me tell you. Okay, let's first of all go outside, shall we? But take your umbrella because it's raining right now, albeit lightly, but raining. 50 is our current temperature, and we'll look at a 3-hour time-lapse radar picture ever so briefly. There we go. Large area of rain. At the moment, nothing really heavy off Pennsylvania way. We do see some heavier showers embedded in it. Our exclusive live Doppler weather radar shows that around our area likewise. We have widespread rain, but nothing at the moment real heavy. High temperature today in Central Park, 53 degrees, and our low was 44. Sunrise 7:04 in the morning. It sets at 4:29, and right now at 6 o'clock we have temperatures holding up into the 40s and in the 50s. And as we say, rain is pretty widespread throughout our area. We'll keep the clouds tonight, and from these clouds, heavy rain is going to fall. And as a matter of fact, as we told you earlier, there is in northern New Jersey a flood watch in effect for later on tonight. Gee, 1 to 2 inches, very likely. around our area, especially a problem in northern New Jersey, poor drainage areas. Gusty winds, too, from the southeast tonight at 15 to 20 miles an hour. They'll shift and be out of the south in the morning at 15 to 20 miles an hour, and at times gustier than that. Temperatures in the morning, lots of clouds and still lots of rain, and temperatures staying in the 40s during the day tomorrow. The rain is anticipated to end come afternoon. We'll see temperatures rise well above normal, up into the 50s again tomorrow. That'll probably be the last really warm day in the forecast period, because the winds, you see, are going to shift out of the northwest at 20 to 25 miles an hour, and they'll be even gustier than that. Here's your 5-day forecast. Rainy tomorrow morning and cloudy all day with a high of 53. Rain should taper off in the afternoon, and then skies should begin to clear on Sunday night, and it should be a sunny Monday with a high of 50. Tuesday and Wednesday, both mostly sunny, but more like December ought to be. Cooling into the middle 40s on Tuesday, 40 come Wednesday. Cloudy all over again on Thursday. Look at that high, not 39 degrees. He said, his voice fraught with drama. We'll talk again tonight about the heavy rain, but stay tuned and stay dry. It's going to rain hard.
All right, Ira, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Ira.
Well, she's a star who managed to escape the press spotlight for 2.5 years until she married the singer Lyle Lovett. Tonight, in an NBC special called Hollywood's Leading Ladies, pretty woman Julia Roberts speaks to reporter David Sheehan. Here's a preview of tonight's show.
Julia Roberts pulled a Garbo back in 1991 and dropped out of sight for 2 long years. But surveys show she is still the #1 female star in the world today, as she reemerges with a starring role in a new movie called The Pelican Brief and a featured part in this Saturday night's NBC TV special, Hollywood's Leading Ladies. Julia talks about her new marriage to singer Lyle Lovett and about being famous.
Well, I wish that I could, you know, do the work that I get opportunities to do and still be able to go about my day, you know, effortlessly, and, you know, dance in a parking lot with my husband without singing on TV. Yeah. You know, but what are you gonna do?
Dance in the parking lot with your husband. I like that idea.
She's my wife.
Speaking of your husband, here you are. You could have any Hollywood hunk you wanted. You chose this very gentle, good-hearted man of music who's like very un-Hollywood. This is my impression anyway. Does the un-Hollywood nature of Lyle and his heart and soul have anything to do with what made that happen?
Well, I don't think it's about Hollywood versus un-Hollywood. I've never gone out with someone that one of their character traits to me was sort of Hollywood. But I think all the things that you said leading into that are certainly reasons why, you know. I mean, you spend 5 minutes with them, you know why.
Julia Roberts also expresses herself about life in Hollywood for women today, as do Michelle Pfeiffer, Janet Jackson, Meg Ryan, and Sharon Stone on Hollywood's Leading Ladies tonight at 10 right here on NBC.
And that's 10 o'clock.
Right, I look forward to it. Still ahead tonight, the Knicks try to get back on track at the Garden against the Kings. Stay with us.
And the Knicks pulling away now, 86-6.
Hey, it's always good when a local team wins. You got it.
Absolutely. It's been happening a lot, here in New York. We have the Jets, the Giants, the Rangers. The Islanders have been a little disappointing, but of course, on everybody's mind, the Knicks. And revenge of the Knicks today turned out to be garbage real quickly after Thursday night's embarrassing loss to Houston. The Sacramento Kings were the victims today in the Garden, New York, wasting no time. First quarter, watch Starks go the alley-oop to Patrick Ewing. Ewing had 31 today. And Anthony Bonner is going to take it to lane. Through traffic signal down the middle. He had 17 points. They led 65-51 at the half today. Third, Bobby Hurley turns it over. Ewing with the steal. The outlet to Starks. He had 11 in the third quarter, 18 for the game. And Doc Rivers has got the perfect medication. Go to Patrick as he rolls inside. The final, 123-101. Was this a must-win after the Houston loss, Mr. Riley?
I think somewhere we got to play down every loss a little bit, you know, that it can't be, the next game can't be an Armageddon because you lose a game. And, you know, we were thoroughly outplayed the other night. The players, you know, felt the sting of that loss. And, you know, it was just simply a bounce-back game against the team that's, you know, a little bit down themselves without Mitch Richmond. That obviously we felt we could win.
Always the philosopher. Memories of a year ago, and they are bad ones for #1 ranked Kentucky last season. This week, the Wildcats became #1 in college hoops. They lost their very next game today, an equally tough task. 19th-ranked Indiana at the Hoosier Dome, and this was not good for Kentucky. Brian Evans with the steal, takes it the other end. The layup, the Hoosiers built a 55-46 lead at the half. Hoosiers win it 96-84. And it doesn't fit the traditional definition of breaking news, but it had a shattering effect in Colorado. College hoops, Colorado and Sam Houston. Watch Damian Page, a freshman, just smashes the backboard to pieces. One of the players from Sam Houston suffered minor cuts. He needed 6 stitches. This guy goes off into the stands to say, thank you very much, folks. 1 if by land. That would be the Army, correct? 2 if by sea? Of course, that's the Navy. How about through the air? Forget it, because neither Army or Navy are much of an air force at all. They like to do it on the ground, especially Jim Kubiak has plenty of time. The little fake, tosses it up, Jim Mill. That made it 16-14. And then, with just 2 seconds to play, the freshman kicker, Ryan Buccineri, botches that one. He misses from 18 yards out. Army wins it 16-14. Well, sometimes you have to search long and hard to find a great golf shot. In this case, we went down under, I am sorry to say. Far and long. Sydney, Australia, the Holden Golf Classic. Mike Colandro, the par 3 18th. This is Ira's form of exercise. Just watch. The ace, Steve Elkington, has the lead. And Bowling for Dollars never had this much money on the line. And for all the times you think some of the stars of Major League Baseball are pinheads, today you were absolutely right. Because it was the Bobby Bonilla All-Star Bowling Classic benefiting the National Hispanic Scholarship Fund. Bonilla was there with his former Pittsburgh teammate, Mr. Bonds, and 11 other major leaguers. So why bowling, we asked Mr. Bonilla.
It was the only city championship I won. It was on my high school bowling team, and again, it was just something I did on and off. It was really no big thing, but I was looking for something to do specifically in New York City in the off season.
So you can win a city title on anything. They raised $75,000 for the fund, but bowling was not everybody's sport of choice today.
I mean, I don't even bowl. I can't bowl. I bowled 100 in the Superstars about 3 years ago, and that was it.
Oh, boy, my bowling is non-existent. I really don't do it an awful lot. You know, my thing is you just pick the ball up and throw it as hard as you can down the middle. Hope you hit the front pin and get enough action.
This is all new, so I appreciate once I start bowling, don't put the camera on me.
You'd be happy with a 100? Would that be fair to
I'd be happy just to hit a pin.
Just to hit a...
Well, the camera's always on Doc now, the only guy left from the '86 champions. Of course, the busy off-season, Hojo is gone. We said goodbye to Sid, and now Doc is the elder statesman of the Mets.
You know, I definitely miss Hojo and Sid, and especially Hojo. We had a nice relationship, and I wish him well in Colorado. And I'm just here now, so part of my thing now is to help the young guys along the way.
And we miss him, too. We'll see you tonight at 11 with more on sports.
It would be charitable not to show them bowling.
Absolutely.
Something I could compete with.
I think we all could.
Let's not bring us down to that level, please.
All right, that's our news for now, but we'll be updating for you. See you again at 11 o'clock.
Good night. Thanks for joining us.